Hello, and again, welcome to Bit Depth. I'm Santiago Ramones.
I'm Jesus Ramones. And also, welcome to the Muditious podcast.
So Jesus and I wanted to do a sort of response to the conversation between Sam Harris and Maryam Namazie on the Waking Up podcast, because it was uncomfortable, and it was very uncomfortable.
So yeah, we're doing this as a dual cast, so it's gonna be on his and mine.
So I mean, first, we both love Sam Harris. I know quite a bit about Sam Harris, and I don't know very much about Maryam Namazie, and so granted, we're a little biased. Regardless of the bias. Or I guess involving the bias, I know that Sam Harris is very grounded in logic, and so any time that Sam Harris is called a bigot, for him it's always like, well, no, because there are reasons for things.
I do feel like people don't really. He does a lot of thought experiments, what if this happened, and then we would have to kill, what if magically all the Muslims wanted to kill the world, we would have to kill all the Muslims, and then people take that out of context. Sam Harris wants to kill all the Muslims, no, it was a thought experiment. If this happened, then we would have to do that. People take what he says out of context,
and I've taken one philosophy class, But that's already a thing that comes up very quickly in philosophy. It's like, hey, look, people have thought experiments. And this thought experiment is just within the context of this while I'm expressing, and explaining this philosophy. And so, I don't know why people, maybe they're just not well informed about, hey, this is a thought experiment. And so, in philosophy, the confines are here. There's a context within that.
You have a thought experiment to really find out how you feel, or how, to really test out the philosophy. Thought experiment. Yeah. But anyways, I kind of felt like he was trying. I felt like their disagreement and kind of where Sam Harris was kind of going toward was both their enemy is more the regressive left, to where. And I've said this before, to where the problem is the fact that whenever the Charlie Hebdo thing happened, people were hating on the people that put out the pictures, and saying well, that's offensive to Muslims. They shouldn't have done that. And the thing is whenever it's never okay to kill. Don't kill. It's not if your religion tells you to kill another person, fuck yourself. Don't take them down. Grab the people that kill them and then put them as a trial, and then I don't know, because you could aggrandize, make it bigger than it is. But I feel like you should mainly just hey, these are bad people, and kind of whenever I think some redhead killed a whole bunch of people in the United States about if you we gotta watch out for all the redheads, or we gotta watch out, it's more treat that as its own thing. That's a bad person. Let's figure out why it happened. Let's try to make it so that doesn't happen again. So with the Charlie Hebdo thing, it shouldn't even be an argument to where that's offensive to them. It's sure, it's offensive to them. Killing is not the right option to do. Even if you're if the Quran says you should kill infidels, for sure, don't kill infidels.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
Well, that and the fact that saying, oh, well, but that the Quran says to kill anyone who shows the image of Muhammad, so if you do that thing, then obviously Muslims will kill. That's equating all Muslims to animals. And again, saying well, you can't stop a dog from eating meat. Like, that's just what they do. And that's the equivalent of saying, well, Muslims just kill. Like, and that's extremely disrespectful. Yeah. And that's kind of something that Maryam Namazie was trying to get across. And I really, like, sympathize with that. And, again, my bias, but, like, I did try my best to listen to her point of view and understand. And so, like, I understand why she would think that what Sam Harris was saying was bigoted. I could see how she could have misunderstood what he was saying by thinking that he was applying it to all Muslims who are different and are other than our society. But that's not what he was saying.
Yeah, the thing is, like, that one of the things that he was saying is that, like, not all terrorists are Muslim. But all, like, ISIS is Muslim. Even, I understand that, like, Muslims themselves probably don't, like, that's not really what we were trying to say. Just, like, all Christians, like, with the
Westboro
Baptist Church, like, that's not, like, they're crazy. Don't, like, we're not them, you know. But 100% of the, like, Westboro Baptist Church are Christian.
Yeah, they believe Christ is their Lord and Savior in the same way that all of the people in ISIS follow the Quran and everything else around it, which not every Muslim does.
Yeah. And again, obviously not every Muslim is a terrorist. But the thing is, like, I feel like it doesn't do anybody any good to not acknowledge that all, like, ISIS or all the people that do, a jihad, are, like, Muslim or come from, like, like a Muslim ideology. And again, and obviously what, like, Sam Harris was trying to say is not, like, kill all the Muslims. It's not that. It's just that you do have to acknowledge that. You do have to acknowledge that, like, if you're looking for jihadi, like, terrorism, you're probably, like, a church is not going to be at the top of the list of where, like, hey, do you guys know of any terrorism? Like, if you're looking for jihadi terrorism, a church is probably not going to, a mosque is probably maybe one step above, like, you know, like, you do have to kind of acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And then that's something that she would not, like, it's like, no, there's no merit in saying that. There's no merit in acknowledging that that's it.
And that's, I did have a hard time understanding, like, why she just wasn't letting that through. That's just like a solid statement. That's not an opinion. That's like, no, where extreme Islam would come from would be from a mosque. But then involving...
And obviously not from every mosque, and it's not like...
No, but, like, again, all members of ISIS are Muslim. That's where it would come from.
But definitely not all Muslims are ISIS.
And something Maryam was talking about, it was like, yes, even though you don't like them, even though they have, like a Muslim background, and they might be extremists, doesn't mean that you shouldn't let them into the country. Their rights are still, you know, the rights are still applied to people that you don't like, which is not something Sam Harris ever said. He never said revoke the rights of people who are Muslim, which is where she was making an assumption.
And then the thing that kind of what I guess where I may be, although he never even, like, finished this point, but, like, where I may be in opposition to Sam Harris in is the open doors. I kind of do believe in open doors. Just let whoever wants to leave, and then whenever they get here, it's not so much like we're gonna make them assimilate to where, like, you have to be, like, you know, be secular now. It's like, no, do whatever you want, but definitely if you, like, if you're, I don't know, beating up women, not okay.
Yeah.
Like, definitely, if your women, like, wear the burqa, do whatever you want, obviously. I mean, we're not gonna, like, no, I'm sorry, you can't wear the burqa. I don't know, I guess.
But it's also about, like, does the woman want to wear the burqa? Because it's not about, like, where the family's views come from, it's where the individual's views come from. I'm very much of the mindset that, like, your own rights belong to you, and they end where you end.
Yeah.
And so I can't impose my rights on you in the same way that you can't impose your rights on me. And so, like, my right of freedom of religion can't brush up against your right of freedom of religion. Mine ends where yours begin.
I feel like kind of, because again, I'm thinking about the problems of what would happen of, like, these two cultures, because she would not even entertain the idea that there's any problem within these two cultures mixing. And I feel like there would be. Like, for example, with, like, driver's license and stuff like that. I don't know, like, again, it's all a line, it's all a spectrum of being Muslim. Because I know that, like, women aren't allowed to drive, but if they were allowed to drive, like, you know, and obviously they would be allowed to drive if they came here, when are allowed to drive, for sure. In their driver's license, they would have to take off the burqa to get the picture done. And it's like, I would understand if it's like, we can accommodate, like, as the American government, we can accommodate to where, like, okay, it's a woman taking the picture. Because their thing is, like, a man shouldn't, like, see your face. Yeah. So, like, it's a woman taking the picture, and then we can do that. We can do that for you.
I mean...
But take the picture, and then just, it's your responsibility to not let anybody see the picture. Unless, obviously, like, if it's a police officer, and, like, they just kind of need to, you know, just
they have to
make sure. It doesn't have to be... Because I know, like, I don't know if it's, like, a sexual thing or a purity thing. But yeah, I feel like there's kind of, like, workarounds. And it's hard for us to almost have this conversation when there isn't, like, a Muslim person, like...
Yeah.
Like, you know, defending themselves.
Sure. But, I mean... Muslims in America are already, like... doing something.
Being assimilated.
They're already doing something, and obviously it's, like, working out fine, because, I mean, we both go to UCO. I see we have a lot of Muslim foreign exchange students, and some women do wear the head covering, and some women don't, but, I mean, obviously the men don't go around yelling at every other woman not wearing a head covering, like...
Or at least I haven't seen it.
Yeah, and so, like, Muslims in America don't seem to have a problem assimilating and being accommodated within their religious beliefs.
And then also, it's like the first generation has, like, a tough time, the second generation has an easier time, and the third generation is, like, assimilated. You know, they'll keep some of their, like, things, and, like, just like with, like, I mean, there's, like, third generation Mexicans here that, like, they keep some of their things, and, like, they also, like, they can speak English and shit, like, you know, so it doesn't, and obviously there is a tougher, like, you know, or a bigger difference between, like, Muslims and, like, Mexicans, like, coming here and assimilating. But again, it's kind of like there has to be some sort of, like, picking and choosing from the Bible, like, because, like, there's the thing of, like, if your child is somebody, you take them to the Times Square and stone them to death, like, you know, that kind of shit is in the Quran, and then, like, some people really, like, you know, adhere by it. Like, but if a Christian wanted to do that, wanted to take his kid out because he's, like, in the middle of the town and stone him to death, for sure that's not okay.
Yeah.
For sure that's not good, you know. But it's my religious right. Like, nope. Sorry.
Yeah. And that's sort of where religion ends and, like, being a individual in a society begins, in a secular society. Yeah. Because, I mean, regardless of what people say, if we're a Christian country or whatever, public society in the United States is secular.
There's also things that, like, I see kind of growing pains to where with clitorectomies, you know, if they come here and they want to do clitorectomies, it's like growing pains to where, like, it's like, no, you're not allowed to do that to a little girl. That's fucked up. It's like, but you guys do, what is it? Like circumcision to little boys. So why can't we do that? And then America's going to have to, like, look at itself and it's like, that's also, and just accept, that's also genital mutilation. So, what? Do we stop circumcision or do we let them do that? Because to disallow them to do that and to keep doing that to little boys, that's fucked up.
Yeah, well, the argument for circumcision is not a very good one.
No, it's not. It's not really scientifically backed.
And the reason why we still do them, I actually don't know. So
again, it's momentum.
And so it should be easy to just go like, oh, we can't do clitorectomies, well, we shouldn't do circumcision either. Okay, done.
Yeah,
not doing circumcision.
And I feel like that's kind of the way that it will happen within time. And, I mean, I guess other problems. If I'm gonna feel like if the same thing that happens, like in Europe, the videos that they show in Europe of, like, you know, an exceptionally Jewy person walking through, like, a Muslim neighborhood, and they're all being, like, super racist and shit. That person should be like, hey, those people are super racist. Like, like, watch out. Like, you know, like, and then the police has to, like, kind of, like, watch out and, like, just see, like, if somebody gets beat up, if somebody, like, if something happens.
But that's also the same thing that should happen in, like, rural, like, majority white communities, where there are communities where, like, KKK has a large following and, like, gay people get dragged behind trucks and killed and, like, and it's persecuted. It's up to law enforcement to make sure that doesn't happen. But what happens is that, like, the law enforcement is involved in that community, and so they're sort of drinking the Kool-Aid too.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, when you're being judged by a jury or your peers, and your peers are a whole bunch of bigots, like, you know, you get away with it.
And so it's a lot harder to just, like, okay, well, let's just throw in a cop from New York or whatever, like that.
I don't know if that's it. I feel like if the family, and again, I mean, we all know that happened, so it didn't stay there, and they're all being judged, like, you know, for what happened, like with the gay thing. It should be like, if that happened to the family should tell, like, Twitter, or the family should tell. Twitter's not an entity, but, like, you know, you should, like, go, like, oh, Supreme Court, like, you know, and then do stuff like that to where, like, and obviously it's really hard because now we're, like, getting at, like, the problems with the system. It's hard to, like, hello, Supreme, like, Court, like, could you please look at our case, like, you know,
an appeal and all that junk. But we should get back to, like, their conversation. The open borders thing, it sort of never got past, like, Sam explaining himself and saying, like, well, no, this isn't what I'm saying. I'm not saying take away the rights. She just wasn't having it. And so, like, restricting the conversation to just an assumption of what the other is going to say. You had said, like, just have a conversation with yourself instead.
Yeah, that's the thing that, like, sometimes in regular conversation, you hear that, like, you're trying to talk to somebody, and then they cut you off, and then they start talking, and I'm like, well, you didn't even let me finish about what I was going to say. Like, that happened a whole bunch in that conversation, and it's just...
And even though it happened between, like Sam tried explaining himself, and then she interrupted him, the problem was, even though she might say that she was interrupted a whole lot, she got her point across. I know she got her point across because I got her point.
Yeah, I got her point, and it was...
And I didn't get to hear Sam's point.
Yeah. And that's the thing that, like... And again, we're biased, but, like, I feel like what he was trying to go for, he was cutting her off to clarify things.
Exactly.
And then and again, maybe we're biased, but I felt like she was cutting him off to, like, I don't know, just like, you're wrong, shut up, let me talk. Not to, like...
I don't even think it was that. I think she was assuming that he was going to say something that she was assuming that he was going to say something that she thought she knew what it was. And so she was like, no, stop talking. I know what you're going to say, but let me finish this point. But instead, he was interrupting her to say, no, I know. We agree on that. Let's move on from there. And so she wasn't even letting him interrupt just to say, we agree on that point, let's move on. Because for whatever reason, she felt like she needed to explain all of these things that Sam Harris obviously already knows.
Yeah, I did feel like it was a lot of, like, I don't know, like, just masturbatory on her part, to where, like, you shouldn't be racist, blah, 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 and bad things happen, blah. It's like, who are you arguing against? Like,
of all people,
Yeah.
like, Sam Harris knows, because he's dealt with the worst of it just by trying to have a conversation about Islam.
And that's the thing too. I don't know. Like, again, I see in a lot of conversations to where, like, people start, like, saying just duh things to, like, people shouldn't be racist. Like, okay,
yeah.
I mean, like, do you think that that's what I'm trying to do? Because that's not what I'm... Like, let me explain to you why that's not what I'm trying to do. And then it's like, no, you're being racist. No, you're being racist. Okay, well, hold on. Let me say what I'm saying. No, you're being racist. No, you're being racist. Like, that's what it felt like to me.
And so, I mean, covering your ears and yelling blah, 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 blah is not the right solution whenever you're trying to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And if she wanted to have a conversation, then... it should have been one.
Yeah. And again, I felt like she was just repeating herself over and over again and not listening to his point. And then, I mean, maybe just because you and I have... I have actually gone back and listened to all of his podcasts now. And, like, we know how he talks. And it's like he starts something just to, like, again, just present a scenario and then just, okay, react to that scenario. And then he never got, like... to finish the scenario. Like,
I did want to talk about the point that she was making because, again, she got to explain herself, regardless of all of Sam's interruptions, apparently. But she got to explain herself, and I understood her point. And I want to talk about that point because her point was, no, it's not a religious problem, it's a political one. That's what she kept harping on. And so, and that's something that Sam was trying to say, like, sure, it's a political one, but we should still look at the religious people because they know where this would come from. Because even though it's a political movement, it's rooted in religion. It's a political movement that started from Islam. And so...
And there's a thing that, like, people can kind of fight about it as to, like, the origin of it. I don't think we can... Or we should really... Because we're not them. We're not, like, you know, we're not experts. Like, we shouldn't say, like, it came from Islam. We shouldn't... I don't feel like we should say that. I do feel like it is... I feel like Sam does kind of focus on the religious part. I'm not sure, because I haven't heard too much of him talking about how the politics of the area really, affect their judgment. Because to his point, they do say, I mean, whenever they decapitate people, there's this is because, I don't know, again,
because of religion.
This is because of religion. Fuck America, we hate you because of your freedom. I mean, basically,
yeah,
that. No, not really that, but they say, infidels, Allah, that's what they say. So it is, Sam definitely has a point on that. And then also, I do think that she has a point, because we are over there. We are meddling with shit. We are, we are low-key fucking up with their oil and shit. We are low-key funding certain things and not certain things. And, we are low-key killing a whole bunch of people over there. So...
Well, I don't think that was so much her point, because Maryam Namazie lives in the UK. And so it's not so much a US point, but it's about people coming into European countries and trying to fuel an Islamist movement that's trying to enforce Sharia law in the country that they live in. And so they came from a country where Sharia law was the law of the land, and now they're moving to a different country where they're trying to make Sharia law the law of the land. And secularists like Maryam Namazie are trying to stop them and say, hey, no, we want a secular society rather than a theocratic society. And so more of the problem that I had with her point was that sure, she said, fight the political movement, but I think what Sam Harris was trying to say was once it becomes a majority of people in the country that are Islamic, you can't fight it politically anymore. Once it's 51% of people that agree with the Islamist movement, there's nothing you can do anymore. Absolutely nothing.
My question would be, why is it that they're coming here if they want an Islamic state? If they already have it over there, why are they coming over?
I don't know. But maybe it's the people that were there were obviously being tyrannical rulers, and maybe they didn't want I don't want to cut people's heads off, but I do think that it should be a law to stone the people to death who show pictures of Muhammad. Maybe they're not as severe as ISIS, but they're not necessarily liberal, and that's something else that Maryam did say that the enemy is conservatism, which is a point that her and Sam Harris agree upon.
Yeah,
that's not something that Sam Harris has a problem with.
She was stating that point as in this is what it is. And again, who are you talking to? Are you talking to Sam Harris? Are you trying to change his mind?
Yeah, because
you did it. Good job. Next point.
Yeah. So, but even though yes, they're leaving because of they don't want to get their heads cut off, but once they come in, they're still on the far right of the spectrum. And so, yes, fight the political movement, but once you get enough people in there that are a majority to where you can't even fight anymore, whenever there's less secularists than there are Islamists, then you can't fight the movement anymore. The majority wins. That's what democracy is. Yeah. And so if you let all of them in, if you say, well, open borders and you have every right to come in, well, now that all of them are Islamist, even though she was saying scan for people who have war crimes in the record, and sure,
you're not gonna know.
Well, either that or sure, all the people who don't have previous war crimes on their record, but who's to say all these new people aren't going to start doing war crimes now?
Yeah.
And so, with the open borders, you're letting all of these people in who are religiously and politically Islamist. Once it becomes a majority, you can't fight that political movement anymore.
Well, I feel like, okay, they come in, and then I'm not sure. It depends on the... Let's talk about the United States, because we understand the United States a little better. They come in, and at first they're not citizens, so they can't vote. They have no, like...
Sure.
No leeway on, like, the way that, like, politics work for now. And then also, they... Like, we have to... And that's the thing that she was really, like, super against. We have to preserve our, like, morality or our, like, culture or our thing. And not so much to where, like, it's like, oh, fuck Muslims. Not like that. But it's more like, these are our laws, and you're going to abide by them. That's just it. These are our laws, and you're going to abide by them. You can't beat up women. You can't beat up gays. You can't, like, that... You just can't.
Yeah, and it's not about, like, oh, our culture is different, but it is. There's that, but, like, just because you come from a different culture, like, it doesn't matter if you come from a different culture. Beating women is bad. Killing people is bad. If it's okay in your culture, it's bad.
Yeah.
And so it's not about, like, oh, our culture says killing people is bad. It's like, and so if they come in and start saying, oh, well, we can kill some people, like, that's not, like, otherizing. That's just, it's not okay to kill people.
Yeah. And there may be some sort of, I don't know, I guess, comprehensive, like, jail thing to where, like, I understand that you beat up that gay because it's, like, against your religion, but you're not allowed. It's illegal here. And you're just not allowed. Like, and then you do your time, get out. Like, you know. And that's it. Like, you're free to believe whatever you believe. And you're free to, you know.
I think that's maybe where the bigoted point came across. That, that Sam was saying that, like, oh, well... and he was quoting someone else saying that, like, oh, well, once these people start, like, colliding with our culture, that's where she was like, oh, us and them, you can't do that. You can't start otherizing. Like, but that's not the point that he was making. The point that he was making was killing people is bad. That's a cultural thing. And honestly, like, of all people to have that conversation with, Sam Harris wrote a goddamn book about how morality is not just a cultural or whatever thing. Yeah. It's a scientifically proven landscape that we can, like, chart rather than... So, like, the whole us and them thing isn't even really a thing, especially to Sam Harris.
Yeah.
And so... You can't say, like, oh, it's us against them. It's like, no, it's them against reason.
Well, the thing is, like, I do feel like Sam Harris is kind of afraid to let them in. To where, what I'm saying is, because he was doing more of the thought experiment to where, like, what if, like, so many people come in to where it's 51%? Like, you know, the Italy or, like, the United States, physically impossible, but, like, let's say that they come in and it's 51% of the United States is Muslim.
Well,
like,
it's also possible in Europe where the populations are much smaller.
Yeah, but again, I don't know the politics of Europe, so I do it here in the United States just because I don't know. When they first come in, let's say it is 51%, which it's crazy. We can't let 51% of our population in, but 51% of them come in. It's so hard because it's so impossible.
Well, yeah, but again, for the sake of the experiment, they have to wait a generation for them to actually start making political reform.
Yeah. And also, through all that, if they do illegal things, we'll punish them. And that's the thing to where, like, he's afraid, I guess, to let them in and then them do illegal things, and not just be like, oh,
and not just illegal things.
They're Muslim, so they're gonna do illegal things. Like, no. I'm just saying, just wait until they come in and let them do illegal things if they're gonna do illegal things.
But
and what she's saying is that like not all Muslims are gonna do illegal things. Yeah,
of course,
exactly.
Not
so, like,
all Muslims are
the small
jihadists.
minority that are gonna do fucked up shit. Put those people in jail.
But that's another problem that could be solved by vetting all, like, not even just Muslims, but just vetting all people. That, hey, I want to move into this country. It's like, all right, have you murdered someone in the past? It's like, yeah, I have. It's like, you probably shouldn't come here because murdering isn't okay here. You know? And,
oh, man.
you know, it's not you probably shouldn't come here. It's you're not allowed here. You've committed war crimes. That's not a Muslim thing. That's just a human being thing. Yeah. And so everyone should be vetted.
And that's the thing to where, like, what Sam Harris and, like, her word what he was trying to get across is, like, because she's like, I don't know, I can't remember if, like, we should attack ideas or, like, you know, whatever. And so, like, if a person is coming in, he's never done anything, but he does say, like, I am an Islamist. Like, I would like to beat up gays if I see one. Like, you know, like, well, you've never done it before, so come in. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Where's the line?
Also, why wait for the crime to happen? Like, why? Because it's like, oh, well, like, I am with ISIS. I've never killed anyone before, but I plan on buying all the things necessary to make a bomb so that I can strap it to myself and blow up a mall.
But I've never done anything.
But I've never done anything before. Why wait for that to happen?
And the thing is, like, again, it's a thought experiment. So for sure, an ISIS person wouldn't be like, I totes want to blow up a mall, like, you know. But
that's exactly why they need to be vetted. That's exactly why everyone needs to be vetted.
And to Sam Harris's point, or like to the fear point, is like they're not gonna be like, yeah, I totally love like ISIS, like, you know, when they come in. So you would let everybody in, and then I don't know. She was,
and then it would happen,
but again, kind of what I see is more like it's kind of letting it happen is just to.
Well, yeah, but her point is that you combat it politically, but it goes beyond politics. Like, sure, they're not beating up gays, but they're advocating that it should be okay. Like, there's a line.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of, and again, the whole gays thing too, are like, it's like, I don't know how you make it okay. Like, you know, in the United States, I don't know how you make it legal to beat up gays. Like, you know, I don't know how that would happen.
Those are steps backwards that I don't even know. For example, I mean, now in the United States, now that gay marriage is legal, the people that are trying to take steps to still fight it are losing, and like you can't fight that battle anymore.
It's so weird that, like, I don't know that some people are still on that.
It's in the Bible. But that's something else that, like, that's a major point that Sam Harris makes, that, like, your religious beliefs affect your behavior. Your just beliefs in general about, like, your understanding of the universe affects your behavior.
And then, again, it's not, I don't think he was discounting that, like, but, like, she kept saying, but there's like, atheist Muslims, and there's, like, you know, there's all kinds of people are going to come in. It's like, yes, all kinds of people are going to come in, but some percentage of them are going to be radical.
That's just a fact. And he never said all Muslims are bad.
Yeah.
He never said that. Or all Muslims are going to stone someone to death or advocate Islamism. He never said that.
And it's kind of the fucked up thing that he's trying to do or not. But as in, like, in airplanes, everybody gets vetted the same. Mm-hmm. Is that okay?
I mean, it's hard to say, but, like, the point that he was making was, well, no.
You're wasting time.
Look at this family over here. They're not going to hijack a plane. But if you look at where, like, yes, you're profiling. Yes, you're like, yes, but the statistics say where it happens. And so, like, if you drive to Compton and you see a group of black men heading somewhere with their hands in their pants, you should be suspicious that a shooting is about to happen. If it doesn't, cool, great, a shooting didn't happen. But all the signs point to this is about to happen. In that same way, if more signs point towards it looks like this man is going to hijack this plane. Why? Because his political beliefs are this, he's done these things in the past, and, you know, like, yeah, that's a person who would do that. A person who would not is a 80-year-old grandmother, and she should not be vetted the same way that a 20-something Islamic man.
And again, it is the thing of, like, it is kind of racism, to where, like, I don't know.
But that's what makes the conversation so difficult. That the regressive left says, like, no, you have to allow everything. It's, well, you have to allow things to an extent. To the extent that it's not dangerous anymore. To the extent that, like, sure, you can want equal rights for women. That's feminism. But you shouldn't want women to have more rights than men. That's regressive. Because feminism isn't about saying women are better than men. Feminism is about saying women and men should be treated equally. In the same way, it's liberal to say, yes, people should have the freedom to have whatever religion they want. Sure. But they are not free to hurt other people because of it.
Yeah, do whatever they want because of their religion.
And if their religion gives them reasons to do so, then those people are suspect. In the same way that, you know, any person who says, I think that white people are the supreme race and that that white people should just rule over everyone else,
you know,
that person should be suspect.
You know what? It's kind of, I don't know, kind of the same as, like, if, like, the kind of racism that can happen by, like, Muslims are more likely to blow up a plane, like, than regular people. It's kind of like, whenever you find out, like, if you're gay and you find out that somebody's a Christian, you do kind of, like...
Well, that's just... It's a difference between, like...
Because there is a spectrum of Christians. There's some Christians that are completely cool with, like, gay people. But yeah. I would totally understand if you're gay and you meet somebody that's Christian, you kind of take not so much, I mean, really, but, like, you kind of take a few steps back. You put your guard a little...
Well, in the same way that you and I, as people who don't believe in God... Like, if I tell someone Christian that I'm an atheist, then...
They put their guard up.
Yeah, well, either they put their guard up or they start attacking me. And so, like, there's a spectrum. Sure, I have a lot of Christian friends that are like, no, sure, whatever, man. Like, it's fine. You know, I don't agree, obviously, but, you know, I'm not going to... lose my friendship with you because of it or whatever. But then there's people on the other side of the spectrum that say, like, whoa, you're an atheist, I can't talk to you, we're never talking again. And I personally haven't had that experience, but I do know that if someone is somewhere along that spectrum of Christian that I do have to be concerned about that.
And again, it's also kind of, and again, I guess a little racist, and like it's kind of all about like really acknowledging like the all like little racism that we all have, but like with white people, if they're kind of like rednecky, like I do put up my guard up a little, or like well, because I feel like they may be racist towards me, or like
like I'm brown, and so this rednecky person just might be like, oh, that wetback over there, and it's like.
And there's definitely, I mean, again, I know rednecky people that are totally cool and not racist at all, but there's definitely some that are. And again, like the live in Oklahoma, like we do experience like a little bit of like, I don't know, remarks that are a little racist. So like, I mean, I do sometimes like put up my guard up a little bit towards like white people, just like a gay person would put up their guard a little bit. Like with Christians, just like you know.
Well, and in the same way, like Americans, especially after 9/11, did put their guard up around Muslims because they were scared that they would be terrorists. And it's up to both like liberal people to be like, well, no, let's be accepting, but also let's the point that Sam Harris and Maryam Namazie were making is criticize bad ideas. And so, yes, let's be open towards Muslims, but anytime that any Muslim is like, yeah, but gay people are an abomination, like, well, that's a bad idea. It's just a bad idea, and you should be criticized for it. In the same way that any religious person should be criticized for believing there's a man in the sky. Every bad idea should be criticized.
And again, I guess it's more of like, sure, gay people are an abomination, keep it to yourself. Like, you know, like it's, as long as gay people are an abomination and we should kill them all. It's like, get out of here.
Well, yeah, but at what point does that belief of, oh, gay people are an abomination and keep it to yourself, at what point does that start affecting their behavior?
Well, I feel like it's kind of like how the idea of the gays is changing to where like there's people that still have their biases.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's
well, once you realize that gay people are people and like, yeah, sure. But in the same way that like, we live in Oklahoma and there are gun stores that have signs that say, Muslims are not welcome here.
Yeah.
That is a true thing. I can hardly believe it.
Yeah.
But that is a true thing. And it's up to them to either be, well, if you're a Muslim, if you're wearing a head covering, if you have a big beard and you're brown, well, I'm obviously just going to not let you in my store. And it's up to them to be like, well, no, for one, that's their religious personal belief, and it shouldn't stop them from visiting your store, but you should also acknowledge that they're a human being and that they require your services too.
Yeah.
But that conversation isn't happening, either from the extreme conservative side or from the extreme left side, because the regressive left is saying like, no, you have to allow them, without even understanding why you should allow them to do so.
I do think that, like, I don't know, like, how do you fix that problem? Like, you know, the gun store owner that says, like, no Muslims allowed. I feel like if you get, you know, a regular Muslim, and then, I mean, I don't know the percentage of Muslims that, like, want to go, shooting, but, like, if you get a regular Muslim that likes to shoot, like, you know, as a sport, like, because whatever, I mean, it's fun.
People hunt.
Yeah. So then, I mean, not even hunting, like, you know, just some people have a pistol and then they just, like, I mean,
a lot of people just
or whatever go to the range and
Sam
it's fun.
Harris also goes to a shooting range.
Yeah. So then, again, does Sam Harris want to kill people? Like, no, he does it. And, like, you've heard him talk about it. It's like, he keeps the gun for safety, but also it's fun to shoot.
It is fun.
So
I've shot guns. It's fun.
So then he's not like a Muslim person is not allowed to have that freedom. Like, just get a person that wants to have that freedom and doesn't want to, like, it's not an Islamist, and then just sit them down and almost like have a moderator, and then let them have a conversation to where, like, hey man, like, I just want to shoot.
Or even like what I think is more effective is letting them see that they're people, and so
that's
like not even having like a moderator, but just like maybe just having someone that like comes in, goes to a store, has friendly conversations, is like in there repeatedly, and then like they become good friends or whatever, and then at some point, oh my gosh, my best friend is a Muslim. Like,
well,
but what happens then? You're like, well, I guess my idea of one Muslim is wrong, but all the rest of the Muslims. But then, like, as that seed is planted, you start seeing that, like, oh, the rest of them are pretty much the same too.
And again, it's kind of like a exposure therapy.
It's the same thing that happened with way back in the day with black people. It's the same thing that's happening now with gay people, and it's the same thing that should be happening with Muslims too. And there's lots of, as we mentioned earlier, there's lots of Muslim people who are assimilating into American society, into European society, perfectly fine without creating any scares or like any bad stuff happening. And so what needs to happen is more people need to see these moderate people who are reasonable, who also happen to be Muslim. Someone like Maryam Namazie, who is willing to have a conversation with someone like Sam Harris. There are lots of other Muslim people like that. And so the assumption that all of them are, which is a point that Maryam Namazie was making, that, like, yes, there's a large percentage of Muslims who are perfectly rational, perfectly, like, politically liberal or whatever, that aren't Islamist. But that conversation isn't happening. And a conversation like Sam Harris is having with Maryam Namazie is also restricting any further conversations just between two people who agree on most points, but are just held back by just assumptions and a lack of willingness to have a conversation.
I'm glad that he put that out, because I heard him talk about another podcast that he didn't put out because the conversation like wasn't any good, and this conversation kind of wasn't any good. But I appreciate that he put it out. I don't know, just
yeah. I mean, it's also good to show that, like, hey, look, you know, this thing happened. It wasn't the greatest, but here it is.
But also, like, it's hopefully she sees the error of her ways, like, to where, like, I don't know, you have to let people get their ideas out, and she probably felt like he wouldn't let her get her ideas out, but never. The only thing that he ever, like, said that you're wrong is, like, you're wrong. As in, like, that's not what I'm trying to say. You're wrong. That's not, like, I'm trying to say this instead of this, and you know.
Yeah. And that's something that needed to happen early in the conversation, like, before anything else would have happened, just to show that, like, these are the things that we agree on. And once she's able to decide, oh, okay, these are the things that we agree on, maybe I should have this conversation.
But I mean, you learn things like that all throughout the way. I just feel like she had an idea of what Sam Harris was trying to say, and then whenever, like, she's like, well, you blah 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 blah, and then that's whenever he would try to cut her off, to where, like, no, hold on, like, before you say it, like where he was trying to, like, use that other dude as an example, to where like, well, this is kind of where I agree with him. And then she would like, well, he's this, he's this, he's this. Like, wait, hold on. I don't know any of that. I'm just basing like my knowledge on this thing that I heard. I don't know any other thing. Like, and it's almost like, can we keep it to what I know? Like, can you stop talking about other things? Like, or, and it's not so much keep it to what I know. Keep it to the ideas that I'm defending. These are the ideas that I'm defending. Like, you know, attack those. Don't attack other ideas that I'm not defending.
Yeah. Something else, I guess, kind of outside of my bias. Maryam Namazie, near the end, had mentioned how, like, she's a activist, she's a member of all these organizations and stuff, and she had mentioned, like, nude protest. And I wasn't sure of the connotation that Sam Harris was doing at the end there, like, oh, maybe I'll just go do a nude protest.
I just thought it was hilarious.
It's funny, but it's also, like, yes, it was hilarious. I laughed. But at the same time, it's not the best way to approach, like, laughing at someone else's activism.
No, well, I mean, and you know why he did it. I know why he did it. It's because, like...
But everyone else is going to look at it and be like, who is this asshole, like, laughing at my nude protest?
Not
everybody.
Not everybody, but, like, the thing is, like, I mean, obviously, why he made fun of it, because it's not that I don't think he has a problem with nude protests. I feel like, and again, I'm talking for him, but this is what I believe, like, I think he thinks they have their point and stuff like that, but it's just that she put that out as in, like, hey, like, this is what I've done, and then I've done this. It's almost like Google me. You could see me naked on the internet. Like, that's kind of how it came out. It's more like, not that, I know that, like, nude protest is more like attention seeking, but not like, not so much, it doesn't have to be in a bad way. It is more to, like, hey, women, blah, blah, blah. Like, I understand. And that is, like, righteous and stuff like that. But the way in which she said it just came out as a, hey, look at me. Like, you know, if you wanted to, you could see me naked on the internet.
I don't know if I quite got that, but I have seen some of the aftermath and seeing that some people have been, like, photoshopping pictures of Maryam Namazie. And while humorous, that's not the best way to react. Funny.
I don't know why she had to say that she did. I mean, she just saying I'm an activist, and that's enough. But again, why did she have to say that, like, I've done nude protests? Like, and again, really think about it. And I know that I'm really blowing it. I don't know if blowing it out of proportion or, like, really putting words in her mouth that she didn't say by saying, like, hey, look at me on the internet, I've been naked, and you could probably see. That's not really what she said. But by you saying, I'm an activist, it's the same thing as saying, like, I've done nude protests. Like, you know? So, there's a better way to say that. And she said it, and then she said it again by saying, I've been naked in public.
Yeah. Maybe to say that she means, like, that she's super serious about it. Like, whatever. But, I know. And the entire conversation was, I'm super serious about this activism. Yeah, I don't know.
But again, am I being an asshole?
No. But I'm also trying to, like, defend for the sake of defending and understanding that side of the conversation. Another problem regarding the aftermath of this is that Sam Harris did tweet and say, hey, please be respectful to Maryam Namazie, especially after this. And I really respect him for that, especially given like the whole conversation, especially given that like his point of view was squashed by her like stubbornness. He's still being the better person about it, and she's retweeting bad things about Sam Harris. She's not outwardly saying anything bad about Sam Harris, but she's retweeting things that are bad about Sam Harris.
Yeah.
Which is, whenever a person has asked their fans to be respectful towards you, you don't respond with disrespect.
Yeah. And again, it's not like Sam Harris did. The whole nude maybe a nude protest. That was a little jab from him to her.
Sure. But regardless of that, he's still being the better person.
Yeah,
he's still saying, like, hey, look, like, no, I know this was, like, please be respectful to her. And it's hard to expect from the internet, but he's asking the internet to do basically the impossible, which is saying something.
Yeah.
You know, it's saying at least, like, I had this terrible conversation, but do your best to not be the internet for once. And what she's doing is being the internet.
And again, I do feel like he might have put the conversation up kind of to be an asshole, but just to like look at how much like, I don't know, she was being a bitch, and then it's like, fine, I'll let the world see how big of a bitch you are.
Yeah,
and then
sure, but if there's anything that Sam Harris is good at, is stating facts. And
that conversation was a fact.
The conversation happened. And it's one thing to be, oh, well, I had this conversation with Maryam Namazie, and she was a total bitch. It's one thing to say that. It's another thing to show the world the conversation and be like, judge for yourself. Was she being a bitch?
And again, all this being said without, like, you know, without actually being said. Like,
yeah, but, like, stating facts. And so, he didn't say anything opinionated or not. It's just, here are the facts. Judge for yourself how this conversation went. And the way that she is reacting is not a, quote, professional or, like, mature way of going about it. At least he tried to be kind of nice about it.
Yeah. I do think, I mean, it's childish. It's, like, immature. The way to really have a conversation, the way to really have a debate is to let your opponent, like, talk and then attack the ideas, attack what they said. It's not to, like, I don't know, she wasn't letting him speak, and I felt like the times that he was interrupting her was to, like, wait, you're saying this about me, but I'm not, like, that's not what I was trying to say.
Yeah, and honestly, it's never a helpful thing in a conversation to attack someone. Like, ad hominem is never a good thing to do in a conversation. And so, even, like, calling someone a bigot is a useless thing to do. Pointing out the ideas that maybe or may not be bigoted is the way that you do it. So, here's the information, you decide if it's bigoted. Rather than saying, this is a bigoted idea, now look at this idea. And so, from her point of view, she was approaching it in a bad way by saying, your ideas are bigoted. And she wasn't even letting him talk because she already made up her mind about him being bigoted.
And it's almost like he was, like, asking questions, and then she was saying that just asking questions is bad. To where, like, what percentage of Muslims are Islamists? And then, like, no, that's not the thing. It's like, as in, like, not even asking the question, what's the percentage? Like,
which is as bad as saying, like, is there a God? whoa, you shouldn't even ask if there's a God. Like, you should ask everything.
Yeah.
Everything. So, refuting a question by saying that shouldn't be a question is a terrible point to make anyways.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are we good?
Yeah.
Again, with the plugging. I'm Santiago Ramones. I'm on Twitter at SantiagoR_music. I hate saying that, and I want to change it, but I don't see any other options. Same as Instagram at SantiagoR_music. You can find that also on my website, SantiagoRamones.com. SantiagoRamones.com. I also make music on SoundCloud, but you can find a link to that on my website. Jesus, plug things.
Okay. And my podcast is Muditious. And I have a website called is Muditious.com.
Muditous.
Yeah. And yeah, I have a podcast called Muditious. You can email me if you have questions. Muditious@gmail.com.
There's a contact form on my website too. Yeah. Thank you.